Welcome to part 2. In this segment, we move from the big picture MCOP model to what it looks like when it's actually deployed. You'll hear how Aurora, Illinois, the second largest city in the state, shifted from alert-driven MSSP support to true continuous operations. From governance and compliance to 24/7 threat response and public trust, this part breaks down the real operational lift an MCOP model creates for a city's critical services. So let's step into the Aurora story.
Now, Mike, you've had firsthand experience working with an MCOP provider, Data Defenders, during your time as CIO for the city of Aurora, Illinois. Can you walk us through what that partnership looked like in practice and what kind of operational lift it created for your team?
Well, I mean, that was one of the benefits as well. That lift, it didn't go away in terms of the accountability that the city maintained, but it took the heavy lift off the staff trying to develop something from scratch, right? I know Cyrus talked about the key difference. I totally agree that MSSP is more like bringing in an outsourced security operation team in a proactive manner to monitor, detect, and respond, where that MCOP is more of that broader cybersecurity partner that helped us to build frameworks, governance, compliance, and operational maturity. I always used to like to think of it as that MSSP is like hiring a security guard service to watch the city of Aurora 24/7. The MCOP with Data Defenders provided is like hiring a chief security officer and their team to help design the security program, help train staff, to set policies, also to basically to run the guards to make sure that that threat vector is minimized as much as possible, right? So those benefits actually ended up showing in terms of stronger cyber resilience, reducing that risk around ransomware or phishing or any type of data breaches or compromise. You know, you talked a little bit about the cost effectiveness piece, and that was huge because even at the time, and I might even get this number wrong, when we implemented that capability at City Aurora, I could say at a minimum yearly, we saved about $5 million was probably that total cost of savings, at least in the first year. It probably was more than that. Not probably, it definitely was more than that through year 1, 2, 3, and on as we move forward, because obviously the cost goes up when you start to look at enterprise grade capabilities. And that's it, not the capabilities, that's the talent, that's the tools, right? So, you know, you kind of remove, in a sense, that cost of hiring, and especially in government, it's almost next to impossible to hire industry wide cybersecurity talent in a government because the budgets are not there within government to pay for those, right? So, you know, bringing that model in, that subscription-based model, helped us do a lot of like budget planning, but at the same time, reduce the risk and protect our critical assets and services in the city, whether it's 911 dispatch, whether it was utilities, the water treatment plant, whether it's our permitting, payroll, public safety systems, right? It helped to ensure that continuity of services. And also, and also more importantly, it helped us to gain public trust and maintain a solid reputation within the city of Aurora.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to note when you talk about the staffing aspect of it, just in this country alone, there's a shortage of about 500,000 skilled cybersecurity professionals. Around the world, that's in the millions. And imagine a highly sought after cybersecurity professional, or even an entry level person looking for a job. They in some cases look to the government for that initial opportunity, but once they get that training, they then leave for higher paying roles in the private sector or at the federal level. And so what that did was it created a revolving door of talent in and out of the government sector, which totally destroyed any potential for continuity, any potential for maintaining and growing a cybersecurity operation. But basically, when you had that talent leave, you had to start back at square one, trying to find the talent to replace what you lost. And so what an MCOP model does, or vendor does, is they bring all that staff and they create that stability right off the bat. So you don't have to worry about the instability in the staffing and the workforce. And depending on the type of MCOP that's brought in, like for instance, us data defenders, a lot of that information is captured in our data show analytics tool, which allows for that continuity of knowledge and information that anybody can then plug into in order to get a sense of the historical context, to get a sense of where the organization is at the current moment in time, and to help to get their arms around how the organization is functioning from a cybersecurity perspective. So there is a great benefit from working with an MCOP vendor like Data Defenders, because we address those 7 challenges that we've identified in the municipal space, related to cost, related to workforce, related to relying on the human element to deal with all that information that's being generated on a daily basis. There's major benefits there that outweigh any MSSP or build it on your own kind of scenario.
Yeah. And the results of the MCOP model speak for themselves. I'm pulling these numbers from the Aurora case study, which at the time, Mike, you were the current CIO. 35,331 threats detected, 351 high-severity attacks blocked, and 0 major incidents. Even to this day, 0 major incidents, which is quite an accomplishment. So from looking at the survey from our SLTT leaders, most are within small municipalities. They're not as large as the city of Aurora, which is the 2nd largest city in the state of Illinois. So Mike, as president of Aurora Dynamic Solution, can you speak to how effectively the MCOP model will work for all sizes of municipalities, especially the smaller municipalities?
Well, absolutely, because you're talking about scale. And also, as I mentioned earlier, it's typically the mid-size or the metropolitan size cities that have, I say, more robust or mature cybersecurity capability. Now, if the MCOP capability is already built and it's already scaled to manage a city like the city of Chicago or Cook County, to bring in a smaller village, right, that's under, say, maybe 200,000, 150,000, or even 100,000 population is simple, right? The capabilities are there. The impact to the MCOP is, I would say, smaller or more minute than trying to just set it up from scratch. So, this particular framework or model is basically built that way to actually, what's the word I'm looking for? It's basically to look at it as almost like a shared service model, where if you set something up you set it up like City of Aurora in a regional framework, if you have the surrounding suburbs or some villages or townships, it's easy to get them on board. It's typically not a challenge to onboard those from an MCOP perspective. The challenge is more around budget and bureaucracy at the government level, right? I think that's the challenge in terms of the procurement aspect and budget, bringing those smaller villages or townships or cities on. It's a scalable partnership, right? That adapts to, city sizes or needs, whether it's a small municipality or a large metro. So, and it basically, the MCOP provides that flexibility to expand those services as the city adopts new technology, because that's what we did at the city of Aurora. First, it was really focused just on the enterprise, but then we also expanded that to focus on the water treatment plant. We started looking at the IoT space, that segmented network, right? And info cloud or whatever it may be.
That wraps up part 2, where we saw how the MCOP model moved Aurora from building everything alone to partnering for continuous operations, stabilizing staff, reducing risk, and protecting critical services like 911, water, and public safety. But Aurora is just the starting point. In part 3, we step up to the regional level and unpack how this same model evolves into a Regional Security Operations Center, or RSOC, a shared utility where municipalities pool costs, share threat intelligence, and strengthen each other's defenses in real time. Tune into part 3 to hear how the RSOC utility turns one city's success into regional resilience.